So I'm just going to give a very brief overview on the program overall, and this is not focused on the research. This is more focused on looking at what has happened in this space of collaboration and communication, and what are some of the outputs from the overall program of the More Profit from Nitrogen program. So first of all, we need to acknowledge our funders and major supporters of the program over the last 5 years. The Australian Government Department of Agriculture, Water and the Environment, as part of the Rural R&D for Profit program, are a huge contributor to this program. Cotton Research and Development Corporation, Dairy Australia, Sugar Research Australia, and Hort Innovation through the Mango and Cherry Levy funds, and all the project partners that will present today, they have all been significant contributors in terms of investment. So this has been the team, this is the program team. Each of our projects will present their project teams today, but this program was not possible without all of these contributors. Those at the top are those that have actually delivered the projects and coordinated their partners, and the ones down the bottom are more been collaborators in some of the projects. So it's been a huge collaboration. One, like I failed to put there and I should have, was the Australian fertiliser industry. We have involved them for the last couple of years, and we'd actually like to acknowledge them because they have been a huge contributor in getting information out to where we want it to be, and that's on the ground to the nitrogen advisors, or nutrient advisors, and a lot of the sort of nitrogen suppliers and manufacturers in Australia. So the 5-year snapshot, where have we been? 5 years, scary years ago, I met a lot of these people in this room and those online today, and I thought, oh my goodness, how am I going to cope with 5 years of these highly knowledgeable researchers? I don't have a PhD, I've just got a lonely sort of couple of bachelor degrees there. But we started and we've collaborated and we've worked so closely together over the last 5 years. So we acknowledge that the Rural R&D for Profit program actually put in close to $5.9 million. But we also had significant input from both cash and in-kind, and I'm saying a conservative figure here because the in-kind was certainly so much more than what is here, I can tell you now. I think I pushed the researchers to add more, to provide more, to be involved in more, and they responded always, so it was amazing. All the research activities were conducted from 2016 through to 2021. And I'll present on that very shortly, and the fact that we had 11 research projects. We started with 10. We added an additional one on looking at nitrogen use indicators for the Australian industries, which was delivered through CSIRO. But all the projects were a different duration. So we had them go from 2 years to 5 years. So we had a progressive end date. There were this is also conservative, 42 official field sites. Every now and then we had little sub-sites pop up, but supported by glasshouse, small plot, lab testing, analysis, modelling, all that background stuff that goes on as well. So there was an amazing amount going on back at all the organisational research laboratories and field stations. Importantly, we had 77 research, technical and PhD positions involved in this program. So that's a huge legacy. So what were we actually doing and what have we delivered? Well, these were the 3 objectives of the program. So we actually have delivered greater knowledge and understanding in the interplay of factors that optimise end formulation, rate and timing across these industries that have been involved, farming regions and both irrigated and non-irrigated situations. The contribution, quantifying rate and timing in most industries of mineralisation to the crop or pasture end budgets. Important piece of work, what's already there, what's available. And how enhanced efficiency fertiliser formulations can better match a crop or pasture specific end requirements. So that's gone from actually looking into already available EAFs down to looking at new technologies. So how do we actually govern this program over the last 5 years? We had a program management committee under terms of reference. We met at least twice a year, and that was chaired by Alan. All the RDCs were involved in that, all the project leaders, and from time to time we pulled in some guest speakers. We had a formal program management plan, monitoring and evaluation plan, and a communications and extension plan. all prepared by me, but very much it was a contribution from everyone that made added value to those plans that we worked with over the last 5 years. We then had a midterm evaluation, which allowed us to stop, reflect, see what we could do a little bit better. One of the strong things that came out of that was that, yep, we got the research up and going really well. We've really got to nail that, getting out there, getting the messages out. And we've just completed our final evaluation plan as well. So I'll present some of that today, but we have Econ later on in the day actually talking about some of the results around that. So this is a bit hard to see, but these are the 11 projects. As you'll see, there was a rolling completion date. Our first to complete was University of Southern Queensland Cotton Project. That was only a 2-year project, through to a number that are yet to report, but will be in about the next 3 or 4 days. Most of our dairy projects finished end of 2019, early 2020, but they have not stopped. So there's been so much additional work after the official end of activity, and we'll see all of that today. So another thing is we're a project that are talking about more profit from nitrogen. So we wanted to actually encapsulate that in a couple of good fact sheets. So Ag Econ have been developing with each of the industries some good fact sheets around some certain BMPs, looking at the top priority guideline, what would you say, best bet type approaches, and doing some economics around that so that we could actually share with farmers, with growers about if they implement this, what are the potential profits that could be made? Or if not about profit, then is there other advantages? It might not always have been purely about profit. So we have completed most of those. There's a few just finishing off now with those projects that have yet to complete. So some of those are already available online. Everything I talk about here is available on the Cotton Research and Development Corporation website, but then each of the RDCs have actually got their own location for their relevant fact sheets. So Dairy Australia have been very, very good at getting a lot of their stuff online, and we'll see more of that today. Ag Econ and CSIRO are actually doing another 2 very special case studies that we just added recently, and they'll be finished midway through July, officially end of June. And that's actually looking at nitrogen use. So we've done this work in looking at nitrogen use indicators, but then what are some of the economics around that? So if we use those nitrogen use indicators, how do we actually use them for economic evaluation as well? The last one's a really important one. It's about the legacy. So, we can measure some of the case studies above are really about saying if you implement this now, what are the profit potentials, here and now? But that last case study is actually saying, well, what's the longer term benefit in terms of the economics? It might not be here and now, but could it be in 20, 25 years' time around, has it increased land value, for example, these sorts of things. So that's a really important consideration. So extension, just briefly, we kept a database the whole way through the program. Most of the project leaders thought I was a bit of a tyrant on that one, but as soon as they were planning something, I was like, do not forget it, and then I go and check it and make sure it's all right. It was all about keeping things organised so we could report to our industries and make sure they knew what we were up to. So we had a few really important extension events, both for the whole program, but importantly, and each of the projects will deliver on this today, there was a lot of very local type extension events that went on as well. So each of the projects really going out amongst the growers and partners. We could have done better, I think, but I always think we can do better, and some of the evaluation says we've done pretty well, but it's now up to the industries to really take all of this information and keep on extending it. Don't stop it just because the program is stopping. So they're the statistics around that. We've been at a lot of the soil focused conferences, both internationally and nationally. And as I said, we have 14 presenters presenting on Thursday at the Soil Science Conference here. Communications and media, we had 160. These are things like articles going out through industry magazines and newsletters, keeping them informed and updated on the research. And at the sort of tail end of the program, informing them about what the outcomes have been. You know, what can they change that might make a difference, and giving the evidence around that, convincing them, giving them confidence that this research is something that they can actually have confidence in and go out and implement. So project materials, 65, and this is actually about really tangible guidelines for the industry. So the dairy industry now have FERT-Smart nitrogen guidelines. It's a booklet, it's available online and from the CRDC website. In cotton, they don't have a separate standalone thing, but they have a manual that goes out each year. So it's our researchers that inputted into that and wrote the chapters on nitrogen, plus a few others contributors. So they're the sorts of things. We actually updated existing resources, or we'd actually developed fully new resources. There was also economic case studies, as we said, support trees, some calculators that we talked about today. Within the group, what we did quarterly, we actually had a program newsletter between us all as well. So we were sharing amongst projects. Where are you at? What's the outcome? So we were kept up to date continuously amongst the program of those 77 people. That also extended way out at the end of the program to over a few hundred through the fertiliser industry as well. What I want to emphasise here though, on the website, if you go to the CRDC website, there's actually a whole booklet, I'll call it, it's about 12 pages, that lists the published, in review and in preparation journal articles. So as Alan said, these papers will be coming out of this program for years. So some of them, in terms of what's in prep, is actually listed on there as well. And also published science and industry conference papers, proceedings, master's thesis, PhD reports. There's a whole list there. So those 129, some of them are included in that 65 up there, but many aren't because they're not actually published. We never ever said something was an output unless it was published, but it's happening. So look, I don't want to labour, but collaboration has been a huge thing. We've had forums every year where we've exchanged. We brought in the Fertiliser Australia conference, worked closely with them through their FertCare program over the last few years. And we were always continuously sort of working together in terms of webinars. We actually had to definitely move to a lot of online stuff. So in terms of key performance criteria, we got a 99% against our project management plan, which meant we delivered on what we said we were going to do. Some of the times it changed a little bit, but there's just an overview. We've got a lot of we will get our evaluation out to a lot of people. There's some great quotes in there from people about just how supportive things were and how we delivered on these things. Against our communications and extension plan, we actually did 150% of that. So we actually delivered much, much more than we had ever intended on doing. Sometimes the focus changed a little bit. So we said we were going to do something, we did something else instead. And a lot of that has had to do with COVID. But again, it's that you write these plans in the beginning, things change over time, you go with what the growers, the farmers need and the industries are looking for. And monitoring and evaluation plan, we didn't do as well on it, but I think we did. It was 83%, but I always like to see something in the 90s. But pretty much what they were saying is, we have actually, against those questions, we have done extremely well. Often, again, it might have been that we've just changed the focus a little bit. But overall evaluation was extremely strong across the program. So I think this is what Alan was referring to, my cheeky slide. Over the 5 years, I've had 3 changes to the department name. So thanks for that one. And logo. So that's been my nightmare. Every time I get something from a project leader, I'm like, the new logo. So 6 rural R&D for profit program managers. So again, thanks to the department for that one. 9 RDC representatives. So that's changed over time as well. Only one constant actually has been Ellen. So thanks, Ellen. And only 1 project leader change. So that was fantastic. We only had 1 change in mangoes from Mia across to Joe and Tony, which was always wonderful. They were part of the team anyway. So I would like to acknowledge Dr. Phil Moody today. I might get a bit emotional, sorry. The reason, so Phil did pass away it's probably 12 months ago now. He's an extremely passionate soil scientist and contributor to this program, most of it in kind. He actually wasn't originally written into the program. He did a wonderful small little project looking at all our soil samples across Australia and having a look at the potential mineralised N in those and using some depth methods so that paper is on our project site. But such a passionate man. I always have a vision of him down in the pit in the mango orchards when we were up in Darwin in 2019, 18 it was, I think. But anyway, so passionate. So today is in memory of Phil and his contribution to this project. So thank you again to all RDCs, thank you to all the project leaders, Cotton Research and Development Corporation, and very much a big thank you to the Australian Government, Department of Agriculture, Water and the Environment, and especially the Rural R&D for Profit program.